The first president of the United States of America was George Washington. The first emperor of the Roman Empire was Caesar Augustus. The first emperor of a unified China was Qin Shi Huang. And the first king of France was, well, it's complicated.
How is it complicated? Just follow the list of kings all the way back.
Okay, buddy. So this Germanic tribal chieftain named Merovech is the first ruler of France? You can trace a direct line of succession from him to the Bourbons, who were definitely kings of France.
Well, this guy is basically insignificant to the modern culture and identity of France, lacking many of those aspects himself, so it doesn't feel right to give him the title of first ruler of France.
Those are my exact thoughts. It's almost like I wrote you to say that.
What?
Nothing. So clearly this is a more complicated question than it seems. We can trace the line of succession far, but at some point these kings stop feeling French. So where is the line drawn? Well, there are a few options. So let's answer the question. Who was really the first king of France? So who's the earliest possible candidate for first king of France? That would be Merovech's grandson Clodovicus, better known as Clovis I. Clodovicus is a Latinization of the Frankish name Chlodowig, which came from the Germanic name Chludawig. This name became Ludwig in German and Louis in French, technically making this guy the first of many Louis to come. He united the different groups of a tribe of Germanic people called the Franks and formed the Frankish Kingdom in 509 with himself as a Christian king at the top. Even though his kingdom is the etymological and historical predecessor to France, this kingdom certainly wasn't French. Its elites and much of its population spoke a Germanic language, and they didn't even control Paris at first. Clovis I is much more fitting of the title, first king of what would become France and the Holy Roman Empire. Holy Roman Empire, you say? Sounds like it's time to skip forward 3 centuries to the most important non-candidate in this video, Charlemagne. 300 years of hijinks after Clovis I, Charlemagne's Frankish kingdom was really big, and the Pope declared him as the new Roman Emperor in Christmas of 800 since there hadn't been a Roman Empire in Western Europe since, you know. Both France and the Holy Roman Empire consider Charlemagne as one of their rulers, with both countries counting him as their Charles I. But he didn't really rule France as if it were its own thing at this point. The next candidate is actually Charlemagne's grandson, Charles II, nicknamed Charles the Bald possibly as a joke because of his hypothesized extreme hairiness. Charles the Bald inherited the western third of Charlemagne's empire. Its capital was Paris, and most of the population spoke Old French and its relatives. So we have a kingdom in the region of Gaul, separate from Germany, that speaks mainly Romance languages and has its capital in Paris. Sounds pretty French to me. However, the elite were still Franks, Germanic people. They likely spoke Old French as a second language, but it wasn't their mother tongue. The people were conceivably French at this point, but I would argue that the kings weren't. That wouldn't come until 987, when Hugh Capet succeeded the last of Charlemagne's descendants as the next king. Hugh Capet was a native French speaker, and every king of France, not counting the Napoleons, they were emperors, was from his dynasty or legitimate offshoot of it, like the Bourbons. Many consider Hugh Capet to be the first true king of France. But if we're truly being pedantic, which is my specialty, that isn't technically true. Even though this kingdom had every quality of medieval France, everyone from king to peasant speaking French or French adjacent languages, being approximately the size and shape of France, having its capital in Paris, calling itself France, etc., Hugh Capet's title was not King of France. It was still King of the Franks. There was still a remnant of the country's former Germanic nature. The first king to call himself King of France was Hugh's great-great-great-great-grandson Philip II in 1190. So was he the first king of France? Technically, yes. But hold on, he was the second, meaning there was a Philip before him. And that guy was the French-speaking king of a French-speaking kingdom called France, but he wasn't titled as King of France. But if we're going by whose number was earliest, France starts counting kings with Charlemagne as Charles I. And that guy was not a native French speaker, and neither was more than half of his empire, a country whose capital was not in Paris, and was called either the Frankish Empire, which sounds a little bit like France and is etymologically related, or the Roman Empire, which is not only debatable, but sounds nothing like France. So you see the problem here. The definite start using one legitimate line of thought is either in the chronological middle of another or stretches what the definition of a king of France even is. So, who was the first person titled as King of France? Philip II in 1190. Who was the first member of France's defining dynasty who ruled the kingdom called France while speaking French just like his people? Hugh Capet in 987. Who was the first to rule a kingdom in the region of Gaul that would become France and had Paris as its capital? Charles the Bald in 843. And who was the earliest king in the line of succession if you trace it all the way back? Clovis I in 509. But who was the first king of France? Decide which argument appeals to you the most and leave your answer in the comments below. Subscribe if you want more videos, and I've been Gammon Nerd, spreading knowledge with each upload. See you later.